Today, we're going to talk about power. Because we need to. Hey adventurers, and welcome back to my channel. I am Bunny, and for the past 4 years I have been traveling across the US as a travel vlogger, sharing my adventures. One of the most commonly asked questions that I get is, how do you keep everything charged on the road? So today I'm going to be taking you on my adventure of how I started out versus where I am now, and in between, maybe some of these things will work for you. I think to start telling this story, we first need to look at what I started out in, which was a small Nissan Versa. It was a tiny car, there was no room for solar on the top, and you couldn't really put a whole lot of different things in there in way of plugs. But I did find that an inverter like this was my best friend. It has 3 plugs and a USB, and all I had to do was plug it into my little cigarette lighter port, and it was good to go. This was a great option. However, whenever I would go to campgrounds, there was no way for me to convert this into a plug at the campsite. So what do whenever you can't convert? You pick up one of these. So this guy right here actually has a cord that pulls out and plugs in. It's about a 10-foot cord, so I could easily take it from whatever electrical box over to my tent at the time and later into my vehicle. But this had 4 different places that I could plug in, and all I would have to do is plug in and hit the switch and I was good to go. Still though, I was missing something. But what was I missing? I was missing the ability to have long-term power. And by having more long-term power, that means me and my van can be off-grid for longer amounts of time, exploring and adventuring, and then sharing episodes here on my channel with you guys. So then the big question is, what do we do about it? Now, I pondered several different things, such as putting a solar system on top of my roof. And while that sounded like a great idea, the option of doing that and then having a huge battery bank inside, well, it just didn't make sense. My van is very little. And while a lot of people like to grab a generator and throw it inside their van or on top, I just didn't think that messing with the gas smell and then also the noise was a good idea for me. Now, the more and more that I researched, I noticed that one item kept popping up time and time again, and it started to really pique my interest. And the more that I deep dove onto Google searches and review searches, the more I realized there wasn't anything negative to say about this. So I had to make a power move and work on some power. And that was Jackery. Jackery is a brand that has a wonderful reputation for those who are in RV and van life. And they have tons of different options. So I decided to go ahead and pick up the Jackery Explorer 1000. Now, unlike my other power solutions where I would have to be constantly plugged into direct current, I can actually plug up the Jackery and charge it for a few hours, and then it will work for days. So in other words, I can plug up the Jackery, let it charge, and then I can go off grid and not worry about having to turn on the van until I'm actually ready to go somewhere. But this thing also has some pretty impressive other features, which I'm going to show you a little bit more. Notice, I can pick this up. This is the next to biggest Jackery that they have, and it is not heavy. It's about, I think, 20 pounds maybe, and again, I can go for days on this little traveling piece of joy called Jackery. Now, I honestly didn't know what to expect from Jackery other than the reviews, but you know, sometimes reviews can be a little bit biased, especially if somebody's had a bad experience with a different company. But oh my gosh, guys, this thing has been awesome, like real life awesome. And I've been super excited by upgrading to this because it has literally answered every problem that I had with electronics and some. But Bunny, why did you get the big one? Why? Why, if you weren't sure, did you get the big one? Simply put, I'm planning for the future. I have some things that are going to be going into the van at a later time that are going to need a constant supply of energy. Not to mention, I already have some devices that really suck the life out of a battery. So I wanted to get something that was large enough to handle that load for at least a couple days. So with that said, let's go look at the Jackery a little bit closer and let me tell you about how I currently am charging my Jackery. So this is the Jackery Explorer 1000. As you'll notice, it has 3 AC ports. It also has on the DC side a USB-C and then 2 USB ports. It also has a 12-volt port right here, and then it does have an input area. Included in the pack is this little pouch which holds all of your different power chargers. You have one right here that can be plugged in to this larger area, and this has a wall plug on it, so you can plug it in directly to your wall, and then whenever you connect it through here, it converts the power. After plugging it in, you just input this into your input section, and this allows you to charge from a standard wall plug or a campsite. Also included is a standard 12-volt connector. You can plug this into your car, and then same end right here. It'll go into your input, and then you can charge this way also. In addition, it does come with this right here, which is actually for a solar panel. They do have portable, foldable solar panels, but I didn't get one of those just yet. I probably will be in the future, knowing that I like this product so much.
Why didn't you go ahead and get the solar panel? Why?
The reason I didn't go ahead and invest in the solar panel is because I thought, to be honest, that when I'm driving down the road on my long journeys, that would give me enough power for me to sustain normal activity. If I liked the Jackery, then I could go ahead and have that extra line of defense with the solar panel. But at first I wanted to check out the Jackery to make sure it's everything that I was needing and more.
And oh boy, was it.
So the way that I've been charging this without a solar panel is simply plugging in at home, and then I charge it to its full capacity and take off on the road. Whenever it starts getting a little bit lower, I can always use my 12-volt connector and get it back up to where it needs to go. And if I happen to stop off at a campsite that has power, guess what? We're using this guy again. So now that you guys know what I'm using, what all am I charging? I have a lot. Now on a regular basis, these are all the items that I have to charge. While my speaker and my fan don't require charging daily, the rest of these items pretty much do. My cell phone, my drone batteries and my camera batteries, my GoPro batteries and my laptop. So I needed something that I could charge these every single day, and then these every few days, and it not be dead instantly. Now the way this works is pretty simple. I've already plugged in my speaker cord, and then I would plug it into the USB. I can turn on the display, and it tells me that I'm at 97% battery. Whenever I touch the DC to activate it, it will show me what the output of watts happens to be over here. And it doesn't look like it's actually pulling more than 2 watts for my speaker currently. So that's good. I just plugged in my fan, and let's see how many watts it pulls. Looks like it's pulling 1. Okay, that's not bad. It's going up a little bit. 2. So both of these are pulling an average of about 2 watts. But what happens when we get into the camera batteries? This one is also on the DC side. So once we plug it up, the lights will come on. There it is. And then right here, it's starting to shift upward. It's looking like 4 watts. I've seen this one go as high as 6 watts. Yep, now it's starting to climb a little bit. But what happens when we plug in our most used device, our cell phone? This thing has to be charged up every single day. And if I'm at home base, that's fine, but whenever I'm on the road, that becomes a problem. So let's turn it on and see how many watts that this pulls. It's looking like we're still at 97% here, and it's starting to calibrate 5. I think it's going to go up to 6, maybe 7. And because I have a lot of applications open, it's going to probably get up to about 8. That's the highest I've seen my phone go, and that's usually because I have a lot going on. But if you swipe out of the apps, it definitely lowers the amount it pulls. Next up is our drone batteries, and I'm not sure that these are going to need that much because I haven't used my drone in a couple days. This is going to flip over to the AC side, so let's turn it on. And you'll hear that the motor had to kick in on that one to turn on the AC. It's pulling about 3 watts right now, but it's fluctuating up and down between 3 and 1. So that's not too bad considering this is 3 high-powered batteries right here. Also on this side would be my Canon battery. So we plug it in and let's see, the light is on. It says about 3 watts right there. 3 and 1 again. So these batteries actually do a little bit better than the other batteries. But now let's get into the laptop. The laptop pulls a lot of power. I'm going to put my charger on it really quickly and then plug it in to the AC side right here. And instantly we see it 45, 31. Yep, that's about right for the laptop. I told you guys, laptops pull a lot more than the other devices do. Now with it closed, it's kind of trying to average out about 13, but whenever I have this open and I'm working, 45 is standard for this. And if the translation of those numbers still isn't adding up, that's why they have the percentage on the screen, which again is oh so helpful. And again, remember how we talked about we don't have a lot of room for a big battery bank? Well, that's not the case with the Jackery. It definitely fits pretty much anywhere because it's not that big. And it pretty much can stow anywhere in my tiny little NV. See, a nice little home for it right there. Although I will say, make sure you strap it down because the cooler definitely wiggles a little bit. Strap it down. Now, while we did go over all of the actual plugging in and showing you guys the watt usage, kind of to give you a reference, on the Jackery website, it does say that you should be able to charge a standard phone like mine about 100 times on one single battery if you're using nothing else. Likewise, on a camera, 50 times. On a laptop, only 8 times. Laptops suck down the battery, guys. And of course, as you're traveling, you may travel a little different than me. So here is a list of all the different things that Jackery says that you can charge and how many times you can charge them. There's a lot in there, guys. There's some really big ones. Look at that.
Hey guys, remember when I mentioned earlier in the video that I plug in? Here's why.
I like to charge at home and at campgrounds because it's just simply faster. In about 7 hours you can get a full charge versus going down the road it taking about 14. So I make the most of my time on the road, yes, by plugging in, but I always start off with a full battery. Now whenever I do get solar, things will change a little bit. It only takes about 8 hours for me to fully charge with the solar panel, so I can literally set up in a field somewhere and be happy, enjoying nature, all the while I'm charging my battery. Thanks again for coming along with me on my journey of power, where we went from here to here and all the reasons that got us here. I hope this was a little bit helpful to you. Again, there's no right or wrong way to power your van. There's just preferences and size constraints and things like that that we all have to take into consideration. My van is extra small, so I have to think about that. But if you have a larger van, that might not be an issue. You might be able to put something on the top and not have a problem with a large battery bank, and that is fine too. Until next time, guys, bye!
Now I need to go charge this battery because it's about to die. Yeah, it took us a long time to film today's video.